Welcome, guys, to the Torin Talks and Torin and Drew. This is the Star Wars edition of this podcast here. We wanted to kind of get into the nitty gritty of the George Lucas retards that hate him and wanna kill him. Uh, just the different things about Star Wars, our opinions, best Star Wars movie, and what we think about the trailers for the new one. I just kind of wanted to start it off with our Star Wars history. For me, just to give you guys some background of what Star Wars kind of means to us and how we kind of got into it was I was pretty young. I got him on VHS. That's gonna make me sound like a really old fuck in a few more years.
Already does.
But
They're like, what's
yeah, it
VHS?
does. Exactly. That was like one of the first VHSs that I owned was the pack of the first episode 4, 5, and 6. And I watched them like crazy. And for at least 10 years of my childhood, when I'd sit on Santa's lap, I would just ask for Star Wars stuff. I wouldn't ask for anything specific, not just toys, just stuff. I wanted anything Star Wars, and I was obsessed. So that's kind of it's very much if this new movie sucks, it'll very much hurt in the
It'll
childhood.
hurt your soul. For me, I was definitely a fan of Star Wars since I won't date myself, but it was still the 80s, so
Yes. We'll just go there.
I'll just put it
Yes.
like that. Definitely always been one of my favorite movies, the whole series. Read the books when the books started coming out, like the expanded universe. I was super into those as a kid, and everybody thought I was that weird Star Wars kid, so that was fine. So I guess I'm still that weird Star Wars kid,
Oh,
but it's okay.
this is incredibly random, but I just remembered, and it's kind of crazy when you think about it, is a long time ago, way before, I want to say, yeah, way before episode 3 came
Mm,
out, a friend of mine like had the novel of Return of the Jedi,
mm.
and it actually gives a spoiler. And what it is, if you read this book and you went through episode 1, you would have known that Palpatine was the
Yeah,
Emperor, because in this book it says his name is
yeah.
Palpatine, which obviously it came out around the movie, so I thought that was kind of mind blowing. And it spoiled it for me because that was before episode 3, and
Yeah.
I was young, so I didn't really like
Hmm.
expect it to be Palpatine, even though anybody older probably would have thought it was super obvious. But yeah, I thought that was funny that there was a spoiler in the 80s of what was going to happen in the later on. I guess another dead giveaway would have been the fact that if you're like a hardcore Star Wars fan, you would have noticed that Ian McDiarmid was the Emperor
Yeah,
in Return of the
that too.
Jedi, and he just so happens to play another character in this new
Yeah.
universe. It's that probably would have been a dead giveaway for people old enough to remember that that was Ian McDiarmid.
Yeah.
But
Or if they read the
yeah,
credits. Nobody stays for the
but
credits.
yeah, exactly. One of the first things I think we should address is the whole relationship between George Lucas and the fans, because that's a pretty fucking
It
tumultuous one.
reminds me
And
of that, like, it's like those relationships you see when you're watching a movie and they're like, it starts off really good and, they're just in sync and in love. And then it just turns into an abusive relationship,
yes,
and they
and
just punch each other out back and forth. And then it's just like, we're toxic. We need to break up.
I think the biggest thing that people don't take into account about it all is that George Lucas has kind of had a history of saying fuck you to all the people that try to control him.
Exactly.
Like in the first movie, he put the credits at the
Mm,
end when most movies had them before. And he had a huge fine for
yeah.
doing that, but he still paid it because he's like, I want to make the movie I want to make. And through the first trilogy, he kind of went through this thing where he wasn't able to make the movies exactly how he wanted them to because of that. And his whole kind of build up to the prequels was getting to where he can have complete
Yes.
control creatively. And it's hard not to like respect that, because who can say that? Like, what director, even the most highly paid directors, aren't able to say, I made these movies exactly the way I wanted them to, and nobody fucked with them,
Yeah.
Beyond that.
It's funny because Tarantino does that, and now everybody thinks he's a genius for it. But George Lucas has
Yeah,
been
yeah.
doing that since the '70s,
Oh, yeah.
And it's a
Yeah,
whole
exactly.
thing where he left the Directors Guild over changes that
Yeah,
they
yeah.
wanted him to make in Star Wars. He kind of just gave him the middle finger because he just wanted to make the movies his way. And I think that a lot of people that give him a lot of flack to me is people that don't really truly understand the creative process. And these are ideas that you've been floating around in your head for years, or
Mm-hmm.
things you've been
Mm-hmm.
consciously thinking about for a long, long time. So you already have your
Yeah.
vision, like you see it. And
Yeah.
there's these people coming in, like they don't see what you see because they haven't lived with this idea. They didn't create it, you know. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like one of those things where it's easy for you to have a outside perspective, but you're not the one in the driver's seat. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like people think that they could just do so much better, like so much better job than Lucas or whatever. And in reality, if that person was in that position, we probably wouldn't even have this whole franchise today.
A lot of the
Yeah.
haters don't care about the creative process. Like
Nope.
they just kind of see this as a you need to cater to everything I want. And it's like that's not necessarily how a director or a person that writes the whole script's
Well,
job
that's not
necessarily
how
is
art
to
works
be like,
anyway.
yeah,
It's never going to
exactly.
cater to every need that you have.
And let's be honest, like even though Lucas tried his best to have complete creative freedom, I don't think he wrote these scripts saying these are going to be shit. I
Yeah.
don't think he like consciously was like fuck the fans. I'm going to. I think he legitimately tried to make something entertaining
Mm-hmm.
while still giving himself this kind of creative freedom. I
Because
mean, who can say he lived the dream?
exactly.
He literally lived his dream, so
Nobody like the
it's hard
blockbuster
not
as
to
we know
respect
it
that.
did wouldn't even exist without George Lucas and Star Wars. And
Oh yeah.
it's just strange to me when I hear people just bash him hardcore, like he just never did anything significant in his whole entire life, and it's just like, are you serious?
Yeah.
We wouldn't even have movies like the Avengers if Star Wars hadn't came.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's pretty much been the forerunner of special effects, one of
Exactly.
the grandfathers of those types of movies. Because I mean, even the first Star Wars movie, when it didn't have the best budget in the world, had amazing special effects and even won a wasn't it an Oscar in sound?
Yeah,
So I
it
mean,
definitely had, especially for the time, nobody ever seen anything like that, so it was revolutionary.
yeah,
Also, another thing that has a lot to do with it is, like you were saying earlier, most people saw these movies when they were very young.
yeah,
So when you see something young, it's in your brain a certain way. You're always gonna have like this
yeah.
love for it. It's just like I remember when I was a kid, I used to love the movie Three Ninjas. I saw Three Ninjas once I was older, and I was like, "What? What?"
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
I feel like for Star Wars fans, a lot of them, nothing is ever gonna live up to the original trilogy. Nothing is ever gonna
Yeah,
live up to it. Nothing, nothing. I don't care
and
if he took every person's suggestion and made the best movie of all time, and it won 30 million Oscars and
yeah.
made 100 million trillion billion dollars. Someone would still be, that shirt should have been blue instead of red.
One thing to consider is he's been quoted as the saying he made most of these movies
Mm-hmm.
for kids, and by all intents and purposes, I saw the first three original movies, four, five, and six, and episode one, at a pretty young age, and I loved them as a kid. I absolutely loved them. Now, I think episode one wasn't nearly as good as the other ones, but as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
it was equal. He
Yeah.
understands what kids like. That's the thing. I don't know a single kid that I'm like, "Do you like Star Wars?" Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool. Like kids are clearly into it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he did kind of meet his goal in that respect. If he made it for kids, he
Yeah.
did a good job because
Yeah.
kids are really
Yeah.
into it. I
Cause I
was.
know I was
Absolutely.
buying merchandise like crazy.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people don't talk about it, but I think the thing that he did better in the new trilogy in the prequels is he set up a very fascinating
Mm-hmm.
universe. He really stretched out the space, the different kinds of aliens, the worlds, the political system. Like it's just such a vast,
Yeah.
interesting world, and you didn't really get that as much
Mm-hmm.
in the,
The
you
original.
know, the original movies, yeah, four through six. But once you kind of did in the prequels, it was a fascinating story. That's why so many expanded universe novels take place in the prequels because you got so
The
much more of a
world.
glimpse of this world. Yeah, and it's interesting. You look at all these
Yeah.
landscapes, these creatures.
I
It's
was just
just
talking about
pretty
this in
cool.
my Mad Max video. I literally said, like, this reminds me of Star Wars, and one of the things that I love about Star Wars that Star Wars does better than any movie franchise, in my opinion, is world building. Like, Every time I see
Yes,
a new planet
absolutely.
or new world, I don't care if it's the prequels or the old one, I want to go there. I want to be there. That looks cool. Like, I wonder what's going on,
Yeah,
especially when they went to
absolutely.
Coruscant. I was like, oh, I, I want to know everything. Like, I want to
Yep.
know what the people are doing on the streets. I want to know what all the high ranking people are doing. It was just so many stories you could tell. You could take any random person in that whole planet and give them a whole world of possibilities that wouldn't even conflict with the main story or whatever was going on with the central
Yeah.
character. The world building aspect of Star Wars to me is the best thing about it, and I don't think he's lost anything on that regard. But I do want to talk about the
Um.
prequels and why I don't understand. Oh no, wait, before I get to that, I do also want to say that when they were talking about the new Indiana Jones movie, they were saying that
Hmm.
they didn't want George Lucas, like fans were saying they didn't want George Lucas anywhere near it. And it's just like
Yeah.
Star Wars and Indiana Jones wouldn't exist without George Lucas. Like really? Like why are you
Yeah.
hating on the man?
Exactly.
Like seriously? Seriously? In my top five is Empire Strikes Back and Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it's like two of
Yeah.
my favorite movies wouldn't even exist if there was no George Lucas. So all these people just need to just shut up.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree with that. I don't think he necessarily lost his director's touch. Like everybody thinks he did.
Well, I know people are gonna
But
say
yeah.
that the best Star Wars film in the franchise wasn't directed by him, and that is true.
No, I definitely agree that that contributed to the success. Because the thing about George Lucas, even though I just got done saying how I really respect he had creative freedom, I think when he works most efficiently is when he has really good
Mm-hmm.
ideas. He does. He has amazing ideas. He planned a lot of this before the movies were even thought of,
Mm-hmm.
or in terms of like the budget or like starting the
Yeah.
movies. He thought of the universe and put a lot of thought into it. So I think his ideas are really amazing and cool. But I think what made Empire so great is he had another voice, kind of
Exactly.
refining
Yeah.
and fine tuning these ideas.
Yeah, I'm not saying that
And I
he
think
doesn't need to
that's
be managed sometimes, or you got to bring because
yeah,
sometimes when
yeah,
you're a creative person, your ideas are so out there. You're just in that
yeah,
space where you do need people to wrangle you in and go, no, that's stupid, or this needs to be changed, or how about we do this instead of that? Like you need that.
yeah.
So
And the guy that directed Empire 2, Kirshner, was, pretty sure he was a teacher to George Lucas too. So it was definitely a guy that George respected his input and was willing to work with him. So I mean, I definitely agree that that contributed to the success of the movie is that George works best when he has his ideas out there and somebody fine tunes them
yes,
and makes them a little bit more
streamlined.
friendly to yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. A little bit more streamlined.
I agree.
Yeah. when once George isn't put on a leash, it gets a little
Yes,
ridiculous sometimes. It's cool. It's still cool,
yeah.
but a little ridiculous.
So, are you a
Um,
prequel hater or
I'm not
no?
a prequel hater. I still respect them. Like I said, I am fascinated with the prequel universe, but I do agree that they are not as good quality in terms of overall movies as
I would say
4 through 6.
I.
I loved episode 3 though.
That's
I
what I
will
just was
say
to say.
episode 3 was by
To me,
far the best
and
one and almost as equal to
I
them.
know that I'm probably gonna get crucified by like Star Wars fandom, but I don't care because I've always said this, and this is just my opinion. But I feel like Revenge of the Sith episode 3 is better than Return of the Jedi. Return of the
I could
Jedi
see that.
is
I could see that.
I do not. I mean, I won't say I don't like it, but I
Yeah.
do not feel like all the praise that Return of the Jedi gets is unwarranted in my opinion. Like I
Yeah.
don't think it was a better movie than Episode 3. It's in terms of storytelling, in terms of anything, and I'm not even gonna go there with the Ewoks, but I just don't
Yeah.
think they told a better story in that movie with those characters than they did
Yeah.
in their kind of like third arc.
I could definitely see that. I never really thought of it because their episode 3 Return of the Jedi are very different movies, but I would rather see Episode 3 than Return of the Jedi. So I definitely agree with that. And the reason why I like Episode 3 so much more than the other prequels is it pretty much fixed a lot of the problems that
Mm-hmm.
the other ones had. Like, for example, if you remember in Episode 2, do you remember the banter between Obi-Wan and Anakin? And it was really awkward,
Yeah,
when they're going to see the prince,
because
see
I
Queen
felt like they
Amidala,
didn't
or
know
now she's a
whether they
senator.
wanted them to be buddies or father and son.
Yeah,
I felt
it
like they
was
were
weird. It was
confused.
like,
They didn't know. Since he was
yeah,
younger then, it was like, okay, I don't know
yeah,
if I should be a father figure to this dude or are we bros. Like, they were still kind of figuring their
yeah.
relationship out.
I mean, they and in the movie they even couldn't completely isolate it because
That's what I
then,
mean.
one instance Anakin's saying he's like a dad, one instance they act like friends. It's incredibly
It was
confusing.
very
But in
bizarre.
Episode 3, the beginning was awesome
Mm-hmm.
because you have them both being Jedis. They're both first off, you can tell that they're better at being
Mm-hmm.
Jedis. Both of them. You can tell that they're powerful, they're good at this, they're relaxed, they're in their element. They're going back and forth, they're talking to each other, they're friends, and I like them being
Mm-hmm.
friends more than that cuz they actually have this banter that
Yeah.
they didn't have
Yeah, I
before.
felt like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon had a better master Padawan relationship
Oh,
than
absolutely.
Obi-Wan and
Absolutely.
Anakin. To me, that felt like how a Padawan master relationship should go. Their relationship, because they
Absolutely.
were not eat. They were. It's like they were on the same team, but he was junior league, and he always
Yeah,
deferred
yeah.
to him. Obi-Wan in the first movie, he still was kind of he. I guess he was kind of like Anakin, a little arrogant, but not
Oh,
not to where he
I
was defiant like Anakin was. Anakin was
I
just
honestly
kind of
think,
like more angsty, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I feel like it would have been better if Episode 2 Anakin was more like
In the
Obi-Wan, because
first,
Obi-Wan was headstrong,
yeah,
especially in his fighting style.
yeah,
You notice how, like, when they're rushing Darth Maul,
mm-hmm.
Qui-Gon is just going on a very reserved, and Obi-Wan's like flipping, he's
Yeah,
like
and
jumping
it's
over
funny
things.
because Obi Wan changes his fighting style entirely after
Yes,
that duel.
and that's what I like. I love that because it kind of shows his evolution
Mm-hmm.
as a Jedi, and that was pretty neat to see. I really respected how they changed his fighting style and his
Yeah, I
approach.
like that too. Especially after Qui Gon got killed,
Um,
that fighting style kind of leaves you open for like attack. And in
yeah,
all the movies, like on, he always has a defense. He comes from a place of defense. He never is the rusher,
yes,
you know.
yes,
So I thought that was really interesting the way they handled that.
yeah. I like how gradual it was too, because in Phantom Menace, he was a very aggressive duelist,
Mm-hmm.
and the second one, he was more reserved, but still a little bit more on the aggressive
Mm-hmm.
side. And then Episode 3, it's like he
That fight was
transformed,
99% defense for Obi Wan. Like Obi Wan,
yeah, which was
yeah.
good. Like he was good at it. He was able
Well,
to, because I
well,
mean,
defense wins
who would have
championships. You know what they say. So, and
exactly?
he got the
It's
better
like
of that match. So,
it's kind of funny because it's like Anakin has the better skills,
mm-hmm.
but Obi-Wan's the better
Yeah.
Jedi because he just uses experience, he
Mm-hmm.
gauges his opponent. And that kind of leads into something I wanted to get into where I think Episode 3 Obi-Wan, in terms of a duelist even, is like very underrated.
I agree.
Cause and the reason why people shit on him is because of the Dooku fight, but I can explain the Dooku
Which
fight.
the Dooku fight in 3 at the beginning?
Yeah, I'm talking about in 3. In Episode 3, you can tell his fighting style is very defensive.
Mm-hmm.
He gauges his opponents and he waits for an opening.
Exactly.
Now, when you see the fight between him and Dooku, because there's technically 4 fights Obi-Wan was in. There was the one against those droids with the
Yeah.
staves that were like
Mm-hmm.
electric kind of. Then there was the Dooku. Then there was him against Grievous, and then there was him against Anakin. Now, in 3 of those that weren't Dooku, he was very defensive and he waited for the opening. He used his regular fighting style that he was good at. Dooku, he couldn't do that because it was two versus
Yep.
one. He had to play offensive because you can't be defensive when you're two
One.
against
Yeah.
one. And he just isn't naturally good at that. Like, that's just not his element.
Yeah.
And one thing you have to notice, though, is Obi-Wan wasn't beaten by lightsaber combat itself. Dooku didn't outmaneuver him with lightsaber combat. He outmaneuvered him with the
Force.
Force.
Exactly.
And Dooku is older.
He was
Like,
just a stronger
he's
Force
had more
user. You
time.
know.
Because
That
Yeah,
was just
because the
the
thing
bottom
is,
line to it.
because what it seems to be notice in the Star Wars universe is when you're older, your lightsaber combat kind of isn't as good as it used to be because your body can't keep up
Yeah.
from the age, but your force abilities get a lot
Mm-hmm.
stronger. Yoda, Dooku, and the
I was just
Emperor
gonna
by
say,
far
even
have the best
Palpatine.
force powers.
Palpatine, like,
Yeah.
I remember when I saw that.
Oh, amazing. Age makes your force abilities in that way, like force push,
Mm-hmm.
telekinesis, that all increases, but your, overall fighting style kind of decreases a little bit from your prime. But so that's my point is Obi-Wan wasn't bested by Dooku in episode 3 by lightsaber combat. He was bested by force abilities. He was force pushed
Yep.
twice. So he didn't really have a defense against that because he's
He's
not
not that
as
strong.
strong as
Yeah.
Dooku in the force.
I
So
never slept on Obi-Wan's skills, especially in the prequels. Obi-Wan was
yeah.
probably one of my favorite characters, if not my
Oh,
favorite character.
absolutely. He was amazing
So,
because I mean, my favorite Obi-Wan moment in episode 3 is when he just so confidently fights Grievous. He just,
yeah.
gets a few droids with the Force with his, knocking that pillar down and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He confidently fights Grievous and almost beats him in the lightsaber duel, but he runs away. So
Yeah.
I liked it because it showed how much stronger Obi-Wan got and how he's still like original prequel Obi-Wan in the sense that like he's very crafty.
Yeah.
If I was a Jedi that appointed other Jedi to missions and I had a choice between Obi-Wan and a few others, I'd pick Obi-Wan because he uses his brain. Not only is he good, but he uses his brain, he gets what he needs to get done, and he's smart.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I really liked about Obi-Wan, and that was my little Obi-Wan spiel is that he's an amazing duelist. It's just against Dooku. Dooku had force over him.
I also want to know because these are things that I just hear brought up all the time. So I just want to get another perspective on them because they're just
Yeah.
complaints I hear about the prequels all the time because like I feel like the like
Yeah.
everybody's favorite thing is to dump on the prequels and I'm just kind of over it
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
is just like I don't. It's not that I don't get it because I mean, there were things about the prequels that I didn't like. I'll just say that. Let me just
Yeah.
name them, and they're short because it's not that many things that I didn't like. Everybody's favorite thing that they didn't like about the prequels is Jar Jar Binks. Like, I don't think there's anyone
Yep.
that watched the prequels that thought that was a good idea. But to
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
credit, they toned him down in the next two movies, so
Yes.
I can forgive
Yeah.
that atrocity that he was committing in Episode One. Cause I totally wanted Qui-Gon to kill him. Like I just I wanted him to die. Second thing that bothered me was Obi-Wan's beard in part two, but
Yeah.
that's just my own deal, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. He got very mullety
Yeah,
in
he
episode
got a
2.
little business in the front, party in the backish.
I get they were trying to make him a little bit more like
Yeah,
prestige,
older.
like older, a little bit more
But then I just
sophisticated in
don't
that way with the
understand why
beard,
they just
but
didn't let Ewan McGregor look like normal Ewan McGregor, like
yeah, yeah.
without a beard. Cause he would
Yeah.
still look not as young, or like with some scruff or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I don't
exactly.
feel like they needed the whole, that whole deal.
I liked the beard in episode
Yeah,
3 though.
episode three,
I liked his look in
his
general.
look didn't bother
He
me.
looked pretty
He didn't
good.
bother me in three, but two,
Yeah.
I was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
The
2 was a little rough. It's kind of
yeah, he was going through a phase.
yeah, yeah.
The other thing that everyone loves to dump on is the kid in episode one.
I actually didn't mind him,
I didn't mind
honestly.
him. Let me see. I don't know if it's. I don't. No, I don't mind him now. At the time, I thought
Yeah.
he was very annoying, but then I was younger, so like, and I
Yeah.
had a sibling around that age, so that's probably why I was like, oh, these kids, like, kid, these ages are so freaking annoying. So I think that had a lot to do with my dislike of him, but I don't understand what people expected him to be. I have a problem with child actors.
Yeah.
Like children doing a lot of things bother me. And I don't really
Yeah.
care for child actors. I don't like when I hear like when children sing,
Yeah.
like you know how they have torture elements. If someone locked me in a room and brought like a kids choir in there, I would I'll tell you whatever you need to know. Like just make them shut up. I can't stand it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so kids just annoy me in that way. So child actors usually annoy me. Dakota Fanning may be an exception to the rule, but other than that, like kid actors, they really bother me a lot when I see them on screen. So it might have something to do with that. But I still didn't dump on him. Like I still was kind of like, I get it. They have to have a kid.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah.
I've never. I mean, honestly, I don't think he did bad
I
for what he
don't
was
either.
given. I think if there was anything wrong, I think it just not
Yeah,
given the
like I said,
best
that's just my
dialogue.
own
It was kind of
personal
written
opinion on it,
cheesy.
but it had nothing to do with like his performance or anything like that. I mean, what do you want a
Yeah.
kid to say? It's not like he's gonna be
Yeah.
spouting, Shakespearean quotes or
Exactly.
something like that. He's like freaking 6 or 7. He's gonna be kind of have a little bit of an
Yeah.
attitude, a little cheesy. He's a kid, and
Yeah. Yeah. And the dialogue was written cheesy, though.
but have
I
you
mean,
ever heard a kid
you an
talk?
angel?
Have you ever heard a kid talk?
Yeah.
Kids say
Well,
stupid
yeah,
stuff
but
like
it's
that
just like,
all the time, like all the time.
yeah.
That's exactly how a kid talk. Like kids, like I think that's what annoys like kids. Are just
Oh.
like, oh, shut up, kid.
Oh no, I did not have a trouble with that version of Anakin.
Yeah,
The adult
yeah.
version,
I'm
now
getting
that's a
to him.
different
I'm saving the
story.
best for last.
Yeah.
Because everyone's major big beef, they're about to. Actually, I heard a little beef too. I heard someone said they didn't like the whole Yoda flipping, spinning thing in part 2, and I actually, when I saw the movie, when I went to see the movie, when Yoda pulled out his saber, the whole, like, everyone in the audience stood up. Like, I'm not even joking.
Yeah, yeah,
And we're, like,
yeah.
all about it. So, for me, and it was kind of like, it was cool to see what Yoda could do. And it's kind of like, I don't know what they would expect him to do since he's so small. Like, him flipping around would
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
make sense because he's so tiny.
Yeah,
I would expect
exactly.
him to be fast.
And he's so powerful with the
Yeah, but I know a
Force,
lot of
that's kind
people
of that's
didn't
kind of
like that.
established.
A lot of people didn't like that
Yeah.
scene, but I liked it. I thought it was cool.
I mean, how I mean, it's kind of dumb on their part because it's like he's been training Jedi in combat for years. How would he be able to do that without knowing
How,
how to
how,
use
yeah,
combat?
that
It
makes
doesn't
no
make much
sense.
sense. It didn't bother me either because I thought it made complete sense. You're the Grand Master of the Jedi Order. Yeah, you should be kind of good at lightsaber combat.
I don't know why people didn't, but they didn't like that. But everyone's big beef that they just did not like was Anakin. Some people say Anakin and Padme, and they don't like them. But in episode 2 is what I'm talking about. Episode 2, they get flat times 1,000. I'll just say my opinion on Anakin, then you can tell me yours.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So in episode 2, I get why he's whiny and angsty because I've been a teenager.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I see why it annoyed people. And he was very creeper. A lot of his stuff, I think they were trying to make it come off as slick or cool, but he was coming off as,
Yeah.
let me go get a restraining order because he might break in my house and hold me hostage or something.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was giving me creeper vibe, not
Yeah.
like, I felt like they were trying to make him be like a more suave type, but it just was not working, and it came
Well,
off very creepy, and that
yeah,
was my
yeah.
beef. And also, there was no. I don't want to say there wasn't chemistry because to me, I felt like they had chemistry, but I don't know if it was the dialogue.
Well, he just wasn't very charismatic,
But
to
he was in
put it
part 3
bluntly.
though. I felt like he had charisma in
Uh,
episode 3, but I mean maybe that's because he was going evil. I don't know.
yeah, probably. You ladies and your bad boys, I
Yeah,
swear.
I love a good villain, so yeah.
My take is I actually thought he was better in episode 2 than he was in episode 3 because in
Well, I've
episode 2 I
never
feel
heard
like
that one.
yes, because in episode 2 he showed way more emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I think one of the best scenes with Hayden Christensen is when he's talking to Padme. And this is the most Darth Vader thing I think he did in episode 2 was talking about how when he rescued his
And he killed
mom
all
and
the
he's
same
like, I
people.
slaughtered them. I thought that was actually pretty well done. I slaughtered them, I killed them like animals, and they died like animals. I thought that line was delivered great. I thought that was great dialogue. I thought that was a very Darth Vader
Mm-hmm.
esque type of thing to do. That was good. I think there were some good moments in episode two. He actually tried to put emotion, and I think the dialogue was horrible in it. I think he did well for the dialogue. Especially everybody always talks about that one scene. I don't like sand, it's coarse and it gets everywhere. That's horrible dialogue. In episode three, so monotone. So monotone. Like, a good example is when they're talking Obi-Wan and
Uh-huh.
Anakin before they
Uh-huh.
fight. You know,
But see,
Ewan McGregor's
I
given a good
felt like
performance.
he had, like, at that point, I felt like he was monotone for a reason because he was cutting off his attachments to, like, Obi-Wan and Padme or whatever. I felt like it had a purpose and a point.
I don't know.
Whereas
It just felt so stiff
into, but
and
it's kind of like,
rigid to me.
but that's how he had to be. It was a front, you know what I mean? Because if he was all like, if he
Yeah.
let himself have any emotion, I felt like he just would have broke down and not even did it because I felt like he did love Obi-Wan and Padme, and so he kind of had to put that guard up to do this. He had to go to Sith to save her, and then he started getting paranoid and thought she was Obi-Wan, which was weird.
Yeah.
My one little complaint about episode 3 is I wish they would have, and I know in the deleted scene they kind of build up to it a little more to where it makes them a little more. It doesn't seem like it comes out of nowhere. So
Yeah.
I felt like
Yeah.
they should have had like a more of a camaraderie.
I can definitely see
So
that.
that way, when he turned, he could try to see that as like, oh, you're trying to hook up with her or whatever. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I wasn't impressed with the performance in episode three because I felt like it was monotone throughout. Another example is when Palpatine basically reveals that he's the
mm-hmm.
Sith. Anakin draws his lightsaber and he's like, "Would you like to kill me? I would very much like to." Ian McDiarmid is being so threatening, being so charismatic, being so awesome, and Anakin is just, well, I would very much like to. It's just like, come on, show some goddamn emotion,
So would you
please.
recast the prequels if you could?
Oh,
Would you recast?
I liked Ian McDiarmid.
No, I
He
mean
has to
Anakin.
stay.
I
He
mean
was
Anakin.
amazing. Oh, Anakin. Yes, absolutely. I would definitely recast him. Yeah, that's a tough one because I don't remember all the people that were young enough to play him, but I definitely would have recast Hayden Christensen. And granted, one thing I will admit is he could have been written better. I honestly
Yes,
do
I
believe
agree.
that. Anakin could have been written better, and it would have been better. And I'm not necessarily saying Hayden Christensen didn't try. It just wasn't good. It just was too monotone and too, But yeah, I liked his acting in Attack of the Clones way better than Revenge of the Sith because he was much more emotional. But it wasn't all bad in episode three.
I think this is the first time we disagree because I felt like I liked him better in part 3.
I mean, there were
He
some
was
good moments in
too
part three.
he was too whiny and he was too angsty. I mean, like I said, I get why he
Well,
was
I mean, that's what I
angsty,
mean. It's like I'd rather
but
have
you rather have
emotion
him
than none.
angsty.
Yeah, because he was going for the lines. That was what
Uh,
was written, to be angsty.
yeah, I needed him to take a Xanax or something. He needed to chill. Like,
I mean, I don't really see him being angsty as his fault because that's how it was
no,
written.
and he was. Like I
But I
said, he
do,
was a teenager, so I get it.
yeah.
I guess maybe I enjoyed the more mellowness of his portrayal in part 3.
I just felt that if you're gonna make such a huge character change, you're gonna sacrifice a lot
Yeah.
for the people that you love. You should be more emotional. That's just my
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. If you're gonna change your whole ideology,
Like I said, that scene makes me laugh every time. Do you want to kill me? I would certainly like to. Like it's just
not even that one. The one that kind of got me about part 3 though is when he just flipped on the Jedi so
yes,
quick.
yeah,
I felt like I needed another scene. Like I felt like
yeah,
I needed something there. It shifted fast, very
yeah.
fast.
Because he didn't really panic very long. I think there should have been a scene where he was just like, Palpatine, what'd I just do? I just messed up everything I've fought for years, and Palpatine, kind of like convinced him, like, no, what you're doing was a good thing. He deserved what he got. He's this repressive Jedi person. I'm going to give you everything that you wanted and more. I feel like there could have been a little bit more of a Palpatine easing Anakin from his like shock of what he just did. But I understand it's a long movie.
Like in part two, they allude to some relationship between him and
Oh
I
yeah,
felt like
there's very much a father
they
son
could
type of
have they
thing.
had a more traditional Padawan master relationship
Absolutely.
than him and freaking Obi-Wan. But
Oh,
um
absolutely.
I felt like,
And I like
yeah,
that because I mean,
in part two though, I felt like they could
because
have dove into that a little bit. That way it would have made three
yes,
make a little
absolutely,
more sense.
absolutely, because it made sense because in episode two, one of the main things Anakin complains about is that he feels like he's being underestimated or that he doesn't have the capacity to wield his power. While, Palpatine is always like, you're the most gifted Jedi I've ever seen. Like
Yeah, he's
he
stroking that
gives
ego.
Anakin the appreciation that he so desires and secretly fanning that Sith self-centeredness of your own power. So I agree. They definitely did a good job in episode three of portraying that, but they could have built it up
Yeah,
even
that's
more
what
in
I mean. That's
episode
what I'm saying. Like
two.
in three, it did good. I just wish it would have had a little bit more build up till we hit the peak, and then they would have just
Yeah.
tied it in just a little bit nicer. But
Yeah,
I
it
still
kind of
think they did a
reminds
good job
me of
with the time that they had.
in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Remember how like Osborn, the Green Goblin, kind of acted like very fatherly to
Yeah.
Peter and was just kind of like proud of him
Mm-hmm.
almost, like the son, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
so proud of your accomplishments. That's
Well
what it kind of
done,
looked
son
like,
guy.
and I kind of like that. It was just kind of this like father that's just like, you can't go wrong. You're amazing, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the one most disappointing part about episode 4 through 6 2 is that like you don't get a sense of the Jedi Order. It's kind of like you're expected Luke to be a Jedi, but we don't really see what a regular Jedi is,
And
you know?
that's why like the prequels were cool because you kind of see, okay, what do Jedi's do? Because if you're going just based on the
Yeah,
old ones, what do they do? You don't know. But you
yeah,
see, they're like peacekeepers, they're negotiators. You know, they go to all these different worlds and try to stop conflicts. Like they're basically like ambassadors for peace, which is cool.
yeah.
And it's kind of like, but if they're
And
like the UN for the Star Wars universe. Like they go in and try to
yeah.
be peaceful, but at the same time they got their own troops in case like shit get cray. So
Oh yeah. Once you get to see in the prequels what your average Jedi is kind of like, I feel like it holds up well in Return of the Jedi. I think Luke does act very Jedi-like,
yeah,
very
yeah,
reserved and very
he
so
does. He definitely does.
so I like that Lucas made sure to kind of keep that show a perspective of what it was like, but still, show that even though Luke wasn't necessarily around it all the time, he did end up being like a typical Jedi, especially toward the end where he almost went to the dark side by being so violent
Yep.
and aggressive to Vader. I definitely appreciate that from the prequels, getting an insight into that universe that's so interesting.
Yeah, I definitely like the prequel for like I said that glimpse into the world building because you just know so much more now. But it's just I
Yeah,
just feel like I feel like some of the criticisms are warranted, but I feel like a lot of the criticisms are just not. I just feel like they're not.
I feel like the prequels are definitely way more nitpicked
Mm-hmm.
than the original movies than 4 through 6.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you nitpick Return of the Jedi the way they nitpick any of the prequels, Return of the Jedi will fall completely apart.
It's definitely like you said, the nostalgia. I was a kid when I saw these movies, so the nostalgia is kind of blinding you.
Yeah, the nostalgia is real.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we could probably move on a little bit to the new movie and your thoughts on that.
Well, let me preface this by saying I have actively tried to stay away from blogs, spoilers.
Oh,
I know they have like a whole
absolutely. There's
rundown of
so
all the
many.
characters already and everything.
Yeah.
And like even the little droid, the soccer ball droid, like I don't even know his name because I don't want to know. Like I don't want to know
Yeah.
anything because when
Yeah,
I
yeah.
walk into that theater, I want to. I don't want my mind tainted by any of this nonsense. I want to go in there like fresh slate and just
Yes.
enjoy the movie. I
Yeah.
wasn't even going to watch any of the trailers at all. But one came on and I couldn't, unless I was just going to run out the theater, like I had to watch it. And when I saw the Star
Yeah.
Wars trailer, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it was Christmas came early. Like, I was so happy. Everything looked great. The effects looked
Mhm.
great. And that was another criticism that the prequels got. They said they used too much CGI. I felt like they needed to for that world because, you know, in the original trilogy, this world was like a used universe. Like nothing had really been updated, the technology, because the Empire had took over, so everything was kind of like broken down and crappy. In the prequels,
Yeah.
everything was still new and everything was flourishing, so I understand why everything had to be like shiny and chrome and, you know, pristine. So I feel like even the CGI worked for that time. And
Hmm.
that same
Hmm.
thing wouldn't even work for these movies anyway, because they're supposed to be set even further, you know, in the future than the original
Yeah.
trilogy.
And one thing I kind of want to get into, it's a slightly off topic, but just a brief moment, is one thing I kind of actually liked is you see in the Clone Wars the stormtroopers are kind of almost like there's a lot more variety than you got in the
Mm-hmm.
Empire. I thought that was kind of cool that there was like it changed from variety to very cookie cutter type of stormtrooper because I feel like that's just kind of what the Empire represented was this fall from individuality conform to our will, you know. I thought that was actually really cool how that lines up. It's very much of this because it kind of goes with the overall theme of the
Exactly.
Empire of like Death Star, destroy all those who oppose us, join us, conform, you know. That was pretty cool.
Even in the prequels, everything is just so colorful and, you know, it's so
Yeah,
vibrant.
yeah,
And in the
yeah,
original trilogy, everything is very one tone, you know,
yeah,
color palette. Everything's very muted. Even at the end when they're having like the celebration with like Luke and Leia and Chewie or whatever at the end of the first movie, the colors, they're still very, and this
yeah,
could be just because it was the
yeah.
70s, I don't know, but it's very desaturated. So it's still not super bright or vibrant or anything like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. From the trailers that I've seen, it seems like the new Star Wars movie are kind of doing the middle ground.
Yeah.
It's like a more colorful color scheme of episode 4 through 6, but not as crazy as the prequels were, which I like the look of the new movie. I think J.J. Abrams is really good at that. I really like the way they did the Star Trek movies in terms of the design of the ship. It still looked like it did in the original series, but
Yeah.
updated in a
Mm-hmm.
good way and a fresh, like, oh, this ship looks new. It looks like it did in the 60s, but it looks new now in
Yeah.
a modern way. So now it doesn't look super old.
The other thing I have to address is we're talking about the new movie and the trailer and fans and their just stupid ass opinions. When the guy first pops up in the first trailer,
Yeah.
the black stormtrooper guy, the internet blew up. Like I'm not even joking, and everyone was just outraged. Like, oh my god! Like, how could they do? Like, why is the stormtrooper black? And it's like,
It's like,
you have
you do realize other people joined the Empire.
no. And this is
Like,
my thing. You got freaking Jar Jar Binks, Ewoks, freaking General Akbar looks like a squid or something, like
yeah.
freaking lagoon monster, and you're worried about a black dude?
Well, especially since like
Seriously?
Lando blew up the Death Star.
He
You
doesn't
know,
count
the
because he
black
has a
people have a
perm.
huge role.
So
Yeah, apparently. But yeah, that I mean, black people have Mace fucking Windu. Like,
I feel like in the Star Wars universe, something like race is irrelevant,
oh,
which it
absolutely.
should be in this world too. And I feel like they're trying to put that in a Star Wars universe and it's not there. And that's the part that's irritating.
Yeah, it's almost like a modern version of Blazing Saddles. It's like a black sheriff. What?
Yeah. Yeah, it's stupid. It's stupid.
It is. It's pretty dumb.
The people in the Star Wars universe have evolved past that. Their problem is this guy trying to
Yeah.
take over everyone. They don't have to be worried about petty complexes like your skin's
Yeah.
darker than mine, so I hate you. Like, that's redundant and it's
Yeah.
stupid.
Exactly.
And I don't understand what him being black, brown, green, orange, alien freaking has to do with him being a stormtrooper. There's aliens all in the Empire in on the rebel side, so you know, like you're cool with aliens and Gungans and all these other weird creatures, but a black dude's too much for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like,
That's pretty dumb. I totally agree. But yeah, I really like J.J. Abrams, and I think he's gonna do a good job. I've liked both the Star Trek movies. I like Super 8 because the funny thing is, I felt like the Star Trek movies were way more like Star Wars movies.
For the record, I'm a Star Wars girl, not
Yeah.
a Trekkie. I watched Next Generation and all that stuff, but I am not hardcore into it like I am Star Wars. Like, I'm Team Star Wars. But
Yeah.
that being
Yeah.
said, I like the new Star Trek movie. They made me care about freaking Star Trek way more than I did before. So
Yeah. Absolutely. Especially since I didn't like the 60s. I like Star Trek, but I did not like the original 60s Star Trek. I thought it was so cheesy and ridiculous at times.
Captain Jean-Luc Picard, like, whoop, whoop,
Oh yeah, no.
That's when
he's my favorite.
Yeah, because my mom was
favorite.
like watching the Next Generation when I was like, that was her jam. So
Yep.
That was the one I grew up seeing. So.
Oh yeah, same here. But yeah, those movies were not necessarily Star Trek movies. They were movies that featured Star Trek characters, but they were good. If you take the movies for what they were entertaining, good movies. And I feel it is the same style as what Star Wars was in terms of this action, great character banter, wonderful visuals. I have some really high hopes because I think he's the perfect choice to do something like this because he's shown in the past where he can do something like this. I'm a firm believer in the J.J. Abrams direction, so hopefully that ends up being pretty good.
I got faith in JJ. I think he's gonna do a great job.
Yeah.
Thanks
go ahead, lay it on me.
Listening to our Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars rant, review, rave.
Yeah, our Star Wars rant. I say we covered a lot of ground, prequels, sequels, all the works, so have fun. And do drugs because they're awesome.
I'm not endorsing that. I'm off the record in case NASA's listening. What are drugs? I don't know what you're talking about.
Do drugs. Here, okay, I'll meet you halfway. Do drugs, but adhere to the buddy system.
Go.
Let's put it that way.
Take a friend. Don't trip alone.
Exactly.